to today's video all about Vendoo. I have been talking about Vendoo for years because I've literally been a Vendoo user for at least 6 years. Since 2019, October 2019, I actually went into my email to check when I joined Vendoo so that I could tell you for sure. So I've been using Vendoo for about 6 years and I still use it to this day. This video is sponsored by Vendoo, but as someone who has been using it for 6 years, clearly I do love it and I do find it really useful. I think it's one of the most helpful tools that resellers can use. So I'm going to talk a little bit about Vendoo, about its features, and why I personally love it as someone who's been reselling for a long time. So I'm going to talk to you about my favorite features that you might not even know about, because a lot of people think it's just a cross-listing tool, so you can like cross-list things from like, for example, eBay to Poshmark or Mercari. And there are just so many other tools that are so helpful across my entire reselling business other than just cross-listing. So I want to make sure that you know about those, because I do think it makes it so worth it. It doesn't just save me time, it also makes me understand my reselling business more and saves me from doing things like double selling my items. So I will talk about those features in a second. So a little bit about me and my reselling business. Currently, I have actually been reselling for a very long time, like over 10 years, but I resell based on what I need. So I have gone full-time, I've done part-time, I've done side hustle. Right now I'm kind of in a side hustle, transitioning more to a part-time income, like a more serious part-time income as fourth quarter comes in. And Vendoo is a big part of that. I'm literally in it every single day. But I also have a VA in the Philippines who helps me to draft listings, and Vendoo is a big part of that. And my husband does photos and shipping for me. So we work as like a little team listing stuff online. So if you don't know about Vendoo, I know a lot of people wonder how it actually works. Like, are you listing stuff in Vendoo and selling stuff in Vendoo? Or like, what about shipping? Do you do that in Vendoo? So I kind of want to go through really quickly like what Vendoo does. And it's more like a cross-listing kind of inventory management tool. It's not where you're not going to print out shipping in Vendoo. You're not going to answer customer inquiries in Vendoo. Start to finish really quick with an item. So you list an item in Vendoo, you create a Vendoo listing, and then from that Vendoo listing with your pictures, your description, your title, your pricing, your weight, whatever you want to add in there, you can cross list that listing to multiple platforms. So I cross list my items to eBay and Poshmark, and then they are live on eBay and Poshmark. Once that item sells, it will, depending on what platform it sells on, it will automatically delist it once it sells on one platform. So if I sell an item on eBay, then it will delist it on Poshmark for me so that I don't double sell. And that's feature number one that is so important to me, because I would have to do this manually before, and sometimes it would sell on the other platform before I had a chance. Double selling is no fun. So it will take down the item from the other platform, and then you go wherever it's sold and you ship it from there. So you don't go into Vendoo for shipping or anything like that. It's more like managing your inventory and your cross-listing. So then once you have shipped your item, you can go back into Vendoo and it will show the items that have sold. And you can go in and type in your fees, your the sale price, what it sold for, and your shipping, and it will calculate out your net profit. You'll be able to see how long it was listed and how long it took to sell. You'll be able to see all that information in your analytics to see how many items you've sold, your revenue for the month, all this kind of like great information. So it's really an inventory management system, but also cross-listing and other tools, but you don't like ship things or deal with customers or anything in Vendoo. So I just want to make that clear. I personally list everything in Vendoo, cross-list everything in Vendoo, use Vendoo to relist everything, and I use it a lot, but you still do have to go into the other platforms when you have like a message or you need to ship your items. All right, now let's go over the best features in Vendoo. The first one is obviously cross-listing. It started out as just cross-listing, if I can remember correctly. It was 6 years ago, so I'm not 100% sure, but I'm pretty sure it was just cross-listing, which basically means getting your item on multiple platforms so you can get it in front of multiple buyers, because not everybody's shopping all the platforms, right? Or all the marketplaces. It makes it so that you create one Vendoo listing and then you can easily cross-post it to other places without having to re-upload the photos, redo the title, all that stuff. Before Vendoo, I was manually copying, pasting everything, re-uploading the photos to each platform. It was a hassle. And now you can keep track of all of it in Vendoo as like one Vendoo listing. It makes it so simple. The second feature, which I already mentioned, was auto delisting. So for certain platforms, the most popular ones in my opinion, it will auto delist your items once it has sold. So like I said, if it sells on Poshmark and I have it cross-listed on eBay and Mercari, it will remove it from those platforms so that it can't sell again. And I think this is gold. Like, this is one thing that I would even have Vendoo just for that, because double selling your stuff really sucks, because then you have to cancel an order and that's awful for your customers. The third thing is sharing on Poshmark. I use Vendoo to share on Poshmark. They have an automatic sharing tool in their Pro Tools section, and I have it sharing 10 times a day. I don't have to manually go and do that, which is so nice. I used to actually pay for a separate tool, like $25 a month, just for this automatic sharing feature. So it is so nice that it is now built into Vendoo, and I was able to remove that other tool from my expenses, which is saving me like over $200 a year. Another tool that's really important to me is being able to bulk delist and relist. And along with this is their stale listings indicator. You can decide how long an item has to be listed in order to be considered stale. And then it will kind of like mark your item for you and be like, hey, this thing's been listed for like 60 days. Maybe you want to delist and relist it to kind of refresh it. Delisting and relisting can be really helpful because it creates an entire new listing for your items. It's not the same as going into eBay and clicking relist, because that's still the same listing. So it completely removes your item and then puts a whole new item up. So the platforms think that they're brand new listings, and that can really help your item sell because some people look by what's freshest. So I personally have mine set to 60 days. So after 60 days, my items are marked and I know I can go ahead and delist and relist these items in Vendoo, and it gives my items a brand new listing and just gives it a better chance of selling. As like a numbers and analytics nerd, I love that I can go into Vendoo and check my analytics. You can check so many things in there. You can see your revenue for the last week, for the last day, for the last month, for the last year. You can compare your numbers. You can see your average sale price. You can see the categories that you're selling really well, so you know which ones to pay attention to. You can see which platforms you're selling more on, whether it's more items, like individual items, or more profit. So you can just see across your business how it is doing. This is just like really important information if you're trying to make a good income with reselling and know your business really well. I like to go in here like at least a couple times a week and just kind of see what is doing well, where I'm selling more. When I started reselling, eBay was number one for me, and I would not have guessed that Poshmark would eventually be like 50-50 with eBay, but I can see that in Vendoo, and now I know to kind of pay more attention to Poshmark, because some months I make more in Poshmark or just about as much in Poshmark as I do on eBay. Another thing I love about Vendoo is because I'm creating my listings in Vendoo, I can give my virtual assistant who does my listings for me access to my Vendoo without giving them access to eBay and Poshmark. So they are not getting into my actual marketplace accounts, which would scare me a little bit. They're just logging into Vendoo, creating listings for me, and then I'm going in and personally making them live. That way my VA is able to do the work that she does, but without having access to all my stuff. Another thing that I like that I don't really use that much, but I like knowing I have it, is that I have access to all of my sales going back years. So if you're an eBay user, you know you can only look at your sales for like the last 90 days or so. There might be a way to look at them a little bit further back, but it's not easy and it's not really intuitive. But in Vendoo, I can go back literally years and see my sales from a long time ago. If there's something that comes up and I'm like, oh, do I have this item still? I can go and look and see when it sold. It's just really nice to know that my sales are being stored somewhere for me to look up, even though I don't really use that. It's just like peace of mind for me. And then lastly, I think their customer service is great. Every once in a while, there'll be a glitch, or I'll just have a question about how to do something, and they have a chat right in the Vendoo like dashboard, and I can just type a message and someone will get back to me, usually within 24 hours, giving me detailed instructions on how to do stuff that I didn't know how to do. So I think that their customer service is great. They've also taken my suggestions under consideration when I've said, oh, this would be really cool if we had this. They really do listen to resellers, and a lot of the people at Vendoo are resellers too. So they kind of know what features we're looking for and what kind of stuff we need to make our reselling businesses better. Okay, so now let's look at the pricing, and I do want to answer a question that I get a lot. So I'm personally on the plan that is 125 items per month, just because I have not been listing very much, but I do plan to bump that up to the next plan up, which is 250 items per month. And I'm going to show you some of the pricing on the screen. This may change in the future, but this is just as of today, September 22nd, 2025. But I do think that their pricing is really reasonable, considering if you're like listing hundreds of items and you're paying less than $100 a month for a tool that you use every day in your business, that's crazy to me. They also have an unlimited plan for $70 a month, $69.99, where you can list unlimited items. You could be a huge reselling business listing like 1,000 items a month, and you would only be paying $70 a month for this tool. I think it's so affordable, and it's so helpful to just have that inventory management system that it is worth the price. I promise you. I know they do offer yearly billing now, where you can get up to 2 months for free. So if you know that you're going to use it for a year or more, you can go ahead and save money that way. And they also do have a free plan. I think it's up to 5 items. So you can just try it out if you're not 100% sure if you want to sign up for a paid plan. But I do have a link in the description below for 25% off your first month. If you do want to jump into one of the paid plans, you can use that link to get a discount on your first month. Lastly, one thing I want to mention is that when it says like 125 items per month, that's new items per month. So for example, if I have 500 active items, it's only going to count the new items that I'm either creating or importing that month. So if you need to import 500 items, then you would need to get a plan that fits 500 items for the first month, and then you can downgrade to whatever plan that you need for any new listings. So you could have a store with 5,000 items, but all that matters for your plan is how many new listings you're creating in Vendoo each month. So hopefully that makes sense. So if that does sound good to you and you want to try it out, you can get 25% off with the link in the description below. All right, now let's talk about some tips for new Vendoo users. The first one is to use that import tool. Rather than going and relisting everything manually, go ahead and use that tool, import your listings into Vendoo, and then if you don't need it anymore, you can always cancel that subscription just to that tool. It does a really good job importing all of your items, and then you'll have a Vendoo listing as well as whatever platform you have it on. So eBay or Poshmark, you'll have a listing for that. And then once you have them in Vendoo, you can start cross-posting them to other marketplaces. My next tip is to really use Vendoo as your like main hub for everything that you do that you can do in Vendoo. So I know some people will accidentally go into eBay and delist and relist. That will create a new item number and link in eBay, so it will no longer match up with what's in Vendoo. So when you're going to delist and relist things, do it all in Vendoo. Just do as much as you can in Vendoo. It keeps you organized and it makes it so that everything is seamless. Another thing I really like to tell people to do is use the Vendoo labels. On each listing, you can create these little labels and then you can filter things by the labels. So what I do to keep my inventory, to understand how old my inventory is I make labels for each quarter, and I also make labels for each location that I get items from. So for example, today I could go in and see which items from fourth quarter of 2023 are still listed and know that those items have been listed for a very long time, almost 2 years, and I know those items need to be clearanced out. So I can quickly see that information. I also do it by store that I get stuff for. So if I get something from the Goodwill outlet, I mark it with the label GWO, so I know I can use that filter and see which items I got at the Goodwill outlet. It's just an easy way for me to kind of see the profit I'm making. You can use these in analytics as well. And you can see what kinds of items are selling best from different places. So I can look up the items that sold at the Goodwill outlet and see what my average sale price and my average profit was on those items versus items at regular Goodwill or clearance rack at Walmart or whatever, or wherever you source from. My next tip is to really use those analytics. They might be kind of confusing to read at first, but seeing things like the categories that are doing the best for you and which platforms are doing best for you and which brands are doing best for you is really helpful in making decisions moving forward as you source better items, because you have the information in place to let you know, hey, you're really doing a good job selling dresses. You're selling a lot of those right now. Go ahead and buy more dresses, right? So I think it's important to review your analytics regularly, make sure you're making a profit, check and see if you're selling more or less than last month. It's just a really great way to see an overview of your business and understand how it's doing. My last tip is to just contact Vendoo support whenever you need it. They are so helpful. They have walked me through so many things where I was like, I don't understand what I'm doing wrong here. And they are so quick to respond. They are so helpful, and they will just give you the steps to take. Or if it's not a feature that exists, they will put a feature request in for you. I think that they're just so helpful. And if you're not super tech savvy, it might be a little confusing to use at first, but they're really responsive and they can really help you figure out how to do stuff if there's something that's confusing you. So I highly recommend reaching out to support. They're super nice, super responsive. So clearly I really love Vendoo. I've been using it for a very long time. The only one thing, which it would not be an authentic video if I didn't mention like the drawbacks, which is like the smallest thing ever, and I think I have actually sent in a feature request for this, is when you are inputting your stuff at the end after you've sold something. I put in like the sale price, the fees, the shipping, so that you can see your profit. When you submit that, it doesn't immediately show you your profit. It kind of closes that window, and then you have to go find that item, and then you can see your profit. And that bugs me a little bit, but that's like the smallest nitpicky thing. It doesn't matter that much, but it wouldn't be authentic if I didn't tell you the one thing I don't like about Vendoo. But hopefully they will make it so that maybe you can do that, or you can somehow see the profit. I would like to see the profit after I enter all that information. That's the one thing that bothers me. But as far as anything else, like I've not had to deal with too many glitches or anything like that. I cannot think of anything in recent years that has gone wrong for me with Vendoo, which is really nice. So again, it is my favorite tool for resellers. If you want to check out Vendoo, click the link in the description below. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer if I can, or I might send you to Vendoo support if it's very, very specific. But I will do my best to answer your questions. If you have any questions about joining Vendoo, or if it's worth it for you or your situation, I would love to help you with that. I'm a big fan of Vendoo, clearly, and I love recommending it to people, even when it's not a sponsored video. If you watch my videos, you know that I bring it up a lot because I use it so often. So thank you so much for watching. Thank you to Vendoo for sponsoring this video. Again, there's a link in the description below if you want to get 25% off your first month, and I will see you next time. Bye.